She was the face of grace and elegance, a Hollywood icon who could have had anyone. Yet, on her deathbed, when asked to name the one great love of her life, Audrey Hepburn didn't name one of her two husbands. Instead, she whispered the name of a secret co-star she hadn't been with for decades. This is the story of the heartbreak that lasted a lifetime, hidden behind her perfect smile. In 1954, the world of cinema was changing. A new face was about to appear on the silver screen, a face that would define elegance for generations. Her name was Audrey Hepburn. She was only 24 years old, a young woman from Europe stepping into the heart of Hollywood. This was her first major American film, a romantic comedy called Sabrina. She arrived in California feeling nervous and far from home. The studio system was intimidating, a world of powerful producers and strict schedules. To help her navigate this unfamiliar territory, the studio paired her with a seasoned star who knew the business inside out. He was her co-star William Holden, and their meeting was supposed to be professional, a veteran helping a newcomer find her footing. But from the very beginning, there was more to their connection than just work. This was no simple mentorship. Something deeper was brewing, something that would change both their lives forever. William Holden was not just any actor. He was an Oscar-winning star, one of the most famous leading men in Hollywood. He was handsome, confident, and 11 years her senior. To the world, he was a charming co-star. To the frightened young woman who had just arrived in America, he became something entirely different. He became her protector. He helped her feel safe in a world that was strange and overwhelming. Yet, behind his charming smile was a man with a past. He was a man with secrets, a fact that Audrey would only discover much later. He was her guardian angel, but even angels can have hidden truths. His arrival in her life was a moment of comfort, but it was also the beginning of her undoing. A future of promise was slowly building, but the foundation was fragile. She didn't know it yet, but her heart was walking into a trap. As the cameras rolled on Sabrina, the quiet mentorship between Audrey and Bill quickly transformed into something far more intense. The chemistry that captivated audiences on screen was real, and it was happening behind the scenes as well. They became inseparable. When the day's work was done, they would escape the Hollywood pressure together. They spent their nights listening to music, talking for hours, and building a private world away from the studio's prying eyes. To Audrey, William Holden was everything. She called him the most handsome man she had ever met. It was more than just infatuation. She fell deeply, completely in love. For the young actress, this was no Hollywood fling. It was the real thing. She was ready to risk everything for him, even her blossoming career that had only just begun. She wanted to marry him. She dreamed of building a family, of having a home that was stable and safe. She was even prepared to retire from acting to raise children, a sacrifice she was willing to make for the man she loved. For a time, it seemed her dreams were coming true. William Holden seemed to want the same things. He was just as captivated by her. He promised to leave his wife and children to be with her. He gave her his word that they would build a life together. To Audrey, the future looked bright and full of hope. It looked like the fairy tale she had always longed for was finally within her grasp. But fairy tales have a way of turning dark. Bill Holden had a history that Audrey knew nothing about. He was an alcoholic, a fact that would haunt him his entire life. And he carried secret, a terrible truth about himself that would eventually shatter Audrey's dreams completely. The promise of a future together was a beautiful illusion, built on a secret he hadn't yet told her. As the love affair deepened, Audrey's greatest desire became her driving force. She wanted to be a mother. It was a longing that had been with her since her childhood, a desire for the stability and love she had often lacked. She spoke about it openly with Bill. Her dream was to have 3 or 4 children and to be a full-time mother. She was ready to leave the glamour of Hollywood behind. Then came the devastating truth. One day, while they were talking happily about their future, a shadow crossed Bill's face. He had to tell her the truth. He had a vasectomy years earlier, a decision made during a previous marriage. He could never give her the children she so desperately wanted. He watched her face change, her eyes searching his as the realization dawned. For Audrey, this was an insurmountable barrier. Her childhood in Europe during World War II had been marked by fear and instability. She longed for a family, a permanent home, a sense of belonging that she had never really had. To be told she could never have that with the man she loved was a devastating blow. She ended the affair on the spot. It was not a choice based on a lack of love. It was a choice based on an impossible future. The fantasy died in that moment. The romance was over, but the wound he left on her heart would never fully heal. She walked away, leaving the man she loved behind, carrying a pain that would stay with her for the rest of her life. While she walked away from the man, she could never truly let go of the love she had for him. In the years that followed her heartbreak, Audrey Hepburn tried to move on. She channeled her pain into her work, becoming one of the biggest stars in the world. She married the actor Mel Ferrer, a union that would last over a decade. To the public, she was the picture of grace and happiness. She had finally achieved the stability she craved. But behind the closed doors of her private life, the fairy tale was crumbling. Her desperate desire for children had become an obsession. It haunted her. She suffered the devastating loss of a stillbirth and a painful miscarriage before finally giving birth to her first son. The journey to motherhood was heartbreaking and difficult, a stark contrast to the elegance she displayed to the world. Despite her success and the image of a perfect marriage, she was plagued by unhappiness. The life she had dreamed of with Bill Holden was never truly replaced. Mel Ferrer was a good man, but the relationship was strained. The deep, consuming passion she had felt with Bill was absent. She had built a new life, a new family. But the ghost of her past love was always there, a constant reminder of what might have been. The shadow of William Holden loomed over her marriage. She could not escape the memory of the man she had to leave because he couldn't give her the one thing she wanted most. Her life was a testament to her resilience, but it was also a quiet story of a love that had never been fully resolved. Even though Audrey and Bill rarely saw each other after their split, their connection never truly died. The ghost of their romance haunted them both throughout their lives. For William Holden, the loss of Audrey was a devastation he could never quite overcome. His drinking, already a problem, grew worse. Holden later confessed that Audrey was the love of his life. He deeply regretted the secret that had driven her away. He had lost the one woman who truly mattered to him because of a mistake from his past. Even as he went on to have other relationships, including affairs with stars like Grace Kelly, he could never fill the void Audrey had left. For Audrey, the relationship became a what-if that lingered in the background of her life. She had built a family. She had found success. But the memory of the man she had to leave never faded. She had chosen a future with children over a future with him. But the love remained. She held onto the memory of the man who promised her the world, but couldn't give her the one thing she needed most. He was the one who got away, the secret name she kept locked in her heart. The longing was mutual, a quiet, unspoken ache that both stars carried with them for decades. The love story was over, but the story of their love was never truly finished. In the winter of 1993, a frail Audrey Hepburn lay in her home in Switzerland. She was dying of cancer. The world was mourning the loss of an icon, but for Audrey, it was a time for reflection. Her longtime love, Robert Wolders, was by her side. It was during these final moments that a secret was finally revealed. Legend has it that she was asked if she thought she had any unfinished business. Was there anyone she had never gotten over? The answer surprised those closest to her. Despite 2 marriages and a long-term partnership, she was still carrying a torch for someone else. The name she gave was not the name of a husband. It was not the name of Robert Wolders. It was the name of her first true love, the man who had promised to marry her but couldn't give her a child. It was the name of William Holden. For 40 years, she had kept this secret. On her deathbed, with nothing left to lose, she finally admitted the truth to herself and to those around her. One man held a piece of her heart that no one else could ever touch. The greatest love of her life was the one who had broken her heart. While the exact words spoken in her final days may vary depending on the source, it is widely recounted that Audrey Hepburn named William Holden as the man she never got over. This confession was not about wishing she had chosen a different path. It was a quiet testament to the profound impact of a love that never had a chance to fully bloom. The heartbreak of leaving Bill wasn't just about losing a lover. It was about sacrificing a dream. She had to walk away from the man she loved to have the children she desperately wanted. It was the most difficult choice of her life, and it shaped everything that came after. On her deathbed, the truth of that choice became clear. William Holden had died over a decade earlier, in 1981. He had carried his torch for Audrey until the very end. He, too, had never gotten over her. He was the ghost of a love lost, a secret she had kept even from the world. For a woman who was the picture of grace and control, this one unruly emotion remained hidden until the very end. The man who held her heart was the one she couldn't have, the one who defined the life she chose to live. Audrey Hepburn's life was a series of roles. She was a princess in Roman Holiday, a socialite in Breakfast at Tiffany's, a humanitarian for UNICEF. But the role of wife and mother was the one she valued most. Her love affair with William Holden ended because he was physically incapable of making that role a reality for her. It was a romantic tragedy that took decades to be fully revealed. She had built a life. She had raised children. She had found peace with Robert Wolders. Yet, as she closed her eyes for the final time, she allowed herself one last look at the man who got away. He wasn't a husband or a partner. He was, in many ways, the one who defined the life she chose to live. Her final confession was an admission that the deepest love is not always the one that lasts the longest. Sometimes it is the one that leaves the deepest scar. The truth of her final confession reminds us that sometimes the loudest loves are the ones left unsaid. William Holden was the man she never got over. It was the secret she carried to the grave, a testament to a love that was as beautiful as it was impossible. Which part of this story surprised you the most?